I must save France from her enemies and bring her back into the hands of God.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Underrated Podcast, a podcast that looks at films that are underrated, unappreciated, and ones that have just slipped under the radar and passed most people by. I am Derek McDuff, and with me, as always, are my co-hosts Alan Torres.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
And Ariel Ortiz.
Hello.
We also have a special guest from FilmJoy, Mikey Neumann. How's it going, man?
Oh, hi.
Thank you so much for being on. Mikey was actually the one who suggested the movie we're going to be talking about today, which is 1999's The Messenger, the story of Joan of Arc, which is a film directed by Luc Besson, starring Mila Jovovich. This movie did not do very well critically or financially. It was kind of, stuck in that very crowded year of 1999 where there was a lot of films that were considered the best of all time. This one doesn't really get put on those lists often, but it does have some interesting stuff. But Mikey, I would love to hear why this was your selection.
It's such a specific moment in time, because obviously it's the story of Joan of Arc. Joan. You have like the tale of two Frances who is also being invaded and imperialized by Britain. Like you have the Burgundians and the French. You just have this like awful situation, and this teenager just strolls up to the army like, I should lead your army. And they're like, no, that's not a good. And she's like, well, too late. I think I respect it because Joan of Arc is like the OG Leroy Jenkins.
Oh yeah.
The raid commander is like, don't mess with the whelps. And sure enough, Joan's just hacking whelps left and right.
Yeah, no, I'm really glad you picked it because Joan of Arc has always been a historical figure that has really, really interested me. She is just kind of like an iconoclast. There's nobody else really like her from history. Just like, this teenage girl who just like led an army, kicked all of this ass, and like got kidnapped and then put on trial. And I like how the movie kind of is like, oh, was she talking to God? Was it the devil? Dustin Hoffman? Was she just mentally ill? Like, you can take, like, you can believe whatever you want to believe, and this movie doesn't really come down too hard one way or the other. You can kind of, I think, view it with different interpretations. And I've always really been interested by her character. I watched the silent Joan of Arc film maybe 6 months to a year ago, and I was just really interested to see that story, and it's really just kind of like the trial and just close-ups of her crying a bunch. And I was like, okay, I kind of wanted to see more of like the badass Joan of Arc out there in the fields. And, so when you suggested this, I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to get some more of that movie, or, kind of the movie I was expecting to get, which is what I got here. The first, like, maybe hour, I'm like, okay, what is going on here? This is a little slow. But then it kicks into high gear. It becomes like just like insane action movie with just like lots and lots of just like cool, like almost like not quite Lord of the Rings, but maybe like on par with like a Gladiator or something, like just these big epic, historical battles.
There's no CG though. Like, that's all real.
Yeah, really, really great practical effects for sure. I mean, Alan, I know you love practical effects, but yeah, I was I don't know that it's like the greatest film, but it definitely had all these really interesting elements in it. Like you said, like it is a moment in time, 99. You wouldn't get a movie made like this anymore with this dedication to doing things practically.
Oh, sorry. Go.
Oh, no, go ahead.
I was just gonna quickly ask, can you name any other person you see in movies that was both canonized and sainted by the Catholic Church that was also burned alive by the Catholic Church?
Right,
which exactly. I think is what this movie is about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, like being the Catholic here. It's very much like it shows the worst of like what the church has been and sometimes is like very much in the political side of things, and truly the only true representation of the Catholic Church was that one that's like, this is, I don't want any part of this. We should not have any part of this. I'm going to the Pope and getting his opinion, because he is, our the true spokes, the mouthpiece of God, and stuff like that, and he should have he will be the only one that has the insight of this. So that very much is like, and then even to an extent, like the preset that did have her on trial, and very much he was very much forced into it. I think he really truly believed in her and stuff like that. I think and that it was very much a pressure and a political thing. Like it's very much like he knew what happened when she showed up dressed like as a man. I think he
The French
at the
sold
end.
her to
Yeah.
England, though.
Yeah,
So,
the French
like, the
sold.
French kind of did a dirty here.
Oh yeah. Oh no, definitely, definitely. And I think it's very much like, there's a stereotype of French being, like in wars, very much. We're good enough. So yeah,
They
it definitely was.
invaded them, though.
Yeah, yeah, but they just like, I got like, which is true. Like it's just so very much like John Malkovich's character is I don't know. I don't want. I'm pretty sure it's very stereotypical, and it's a very stereotype. Like the whole like, in World War II of like, oh, the French is like easily surrendering, and then the French in war history kind of like have gotten a bad rap of being seen as easily surrendering, and this is very much another instance of that, because he's like, well, I got Orleans, and I don't need like, it's Paris. Like, why don't you want your capital or like one of your biggest cities? And he's like, well, I'm already king. I'm good. And it's very much like, well, it's just such a frustrating thing, and the whole thing with Joan of Arc, and I know for this movie in particular, they went over, they had to be dramatic, and so the story of her is very much dramatized in this version. I was like reading up a little bit of the history behind it, and like she wasn't really much in the battlefield. She was very much
The wounds in this movie are actual. She took an arrow to the chest and she took an arrow to the leg.
yeah,
In
she
battle.
did in battle, but she was more in the background, like, than on the foreground. She wasn't the charging person. She was like essentially what she did in at the beginning of like the with the speech, and pulling off like a, like an Aragon before Aragon kind of speech, and rallying up the troops, and she was a symbol for the French troops, and that's why she's contributed to saving France, because she is like, in a lot of saints instances where she's very much a spokesperson and a voice of truth and reason. And that's why, like, kind of like they showed canonizations. I was reading up on her miracles, because in the Catholic Church you need 4 to be blessed, and then another 2 to be canonized, and so the Catholic Church recognizes her saving England as one, which is like very
Saving
much her
England?
save, or no, not England, saving France.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I was about to say.
sorry,
I was
saving
like,
France
wow, that is a
one.
miracle.
Yeah, saving France is one, and I think that's very much like it's because of the hope she provided the French troops and stuff, or the French army and stuff like that. That's what saving England is, or not in France. Oh my gosh, they're so close together. um, and then another one is like, while she was in a few cities, while she passed by certain people with illnesses, their illnesses got cured. And so those are the other 3 that happened during her time and during her life. And then the 2 other ones were made like home harmoniously, where it's like people invoked her name and and cured people, or of things, of two
Are
other
we,
things. So that's what contributes her
are we
miracle.
only going to talk about this literally, or are we going to?
No, it's very much like like the movie itself. Like now stepping out of the literal and the historical,
Sure.
the movie itself very much is like like a dramatization of that and yeah, like of how visions are seen, and could be interpreted and things like that of I was because watching on Amazon Prime and pausing it, and like the character name that they gave Dustin Hoffman is the
Mhm.
consciousness. Yeah, the
Yeah, I
conscious.
did the same too.
Conscience.
I was
Yeah,
curious
yeah,
because I was like,
and
"Oh, is he really the devil's?" But yeah.
I think it's very
No,
no.
it's
I don't.
her doubt. That's why they
Yeah,
cut to like no one being there.
Mhm.
yeah,
She's doubting herself because she lived her whole life totally believing that God had told her the
Mhm.
sword you found in the field is going to lead France to. And Dustin Hoffman's like, you
mhm,
found a sword in a
yeah,
field.
I love
yeah.
that. I
Yeah,
actually
like
love that
Yeah.
part.
It's just very much. It's a really interesting way to like show of faith because like yeah, like things to be interpreted in the spiritual way or the practical way and she but also with her taking it the spiritual way she kind of like corrupted like in what Dustin Hoffman's character pulled out of like you're saying these things and like kind of like making yourself important. Like yes, you might be important, but you're not showing humbleness. There's the word. You're not showing a humbleness of this life and stuff like that. You like up and like throughout the movie, I was like, she's very demanding, and like yes, you might be a messenger of God, but you don't demand like that. You don't like you're supposed to be a person of the people, kind of
I'm
thing.
sorry, were you
Yeah.
canonized by the Catholic Church?
Well, I do think you guys are hitting on something. What I kind of mentioned that is I think you can interpret things in
Yeah.
this movie through different lenses. Like I think Ariel through your Catholicism, you took it definitely a certain way. I think Mikey, you definitely took it a very different way. Like, and I kind of tried to look at it like the top in Inception is like I don't know which way this is gonna go. I could take it either way, but I don't know. I think you have some different thoughts on that, Mikey.
Okay, so the most important fact about this movie is that it was shot by Thierry Arbogast, who shot quite a few French movies. Kiss of the Dragon, the Jet Li movie, was one. But
Oh
most
wow, I haven't heard
importantly,
that in a long time.
he shot the Halle Berry classic
Monster
Catwoman.
Ball. Oh.
Whoa! He shot the
Oh
basketball
man,
scene. That cinematic masterpiece.
wow, the best DC movie ever.
Catwoman never misses. Never.
Can
All I was gonna say is like, I mean, it's a very, very French film that's like
Mhm.
holding, like trying to be like, this was our history. And what I think is really interesting is you have this whole war apparatus that was working. They were going to invade the stronghold and take it out, and she just like literally Leroy Jenkins everyone in there because they'll all follow her. But the reality is probably either way they would have been fine.
Mhm.
I don't know. It's the first thing she does is run in with a flag like this is all I need, and then she's like, actually, I do need a sword, but I'm not going to kill anybody. You killed like 12 people. Okay, no more after this one or this one or this one or the. I don't know. It's just it puts a reality on disgusting things like that scene when she just absolutely has a mental episode when the dude's trying to mace that guy's teeth out and he's like he's got nice teeth.
Oh yeah.
I want him. And he's you can't just break a guy's skull for his teeth. And he's like, why not?
it's like
And it's like
yeah,
there's so many more like angles to the ugliness of war that are not covered by religion.
Mhm.
Like they run into it, knife in hand, but like the second the rubber hits the road, like it gets complicated. And I appreciate this movie is just like maybe she doubted herself.
Mhm.
Mhm. Which is very much like a saint thing to do. It's like
Yeah,
there's a lot
that's
of
true.
saints always
Yeah.
doubt themselves. They're the
Well,
ones that
she was
defend faith.
like, she was so humble in so many ways. Like she refuses like they give her all these nice expensive dresses and she just like leaves them in a box.
Mhm.
She's
Yeah.
like, I need this piece of white cloth and some pants, and I'm
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah, she's humble. Yeah, she's humble in certain areas, but not all areas. I can leave
For
you
sure,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
But also she strolled up on 9 huge French dudes in charge of an army, and she was like, I'm in charge, and it worked.
Yeah.
How like I would saint her too. That's incredible. In the
Yeah, right?
1400s.
It is very much like it was very much a nice thing to see of like the people's belief in her, the common people, not the asshole king
Malkovich.
and Malkovich.
Malkovich and Faye Dunaway.
The Dauphin of France.
I am the
That's
Dauphin of
the-
France.
That's the eldest son of the king, and in line to take the throne, if you were wondering.
I
No,
did
that's
wonder
me.
that, and I looked it up on
Yeah.
my phone while I was watching the movie, and it translates from dolphin. I don't know why they call their princes dolphins, but okay.
Well, I think Dolphin because it came from Delphon, probably.
Yeah.
Like
No, like it's the French word for dolphin is the second in line to the throne or whatever.
All dolphins are princes. That's
Mhm.
canon. That's canon.
And as always in like French history, the second brother should have been the one to be the ruler because like I had a lot more respect for his half brother than him, kind of thing.
Yeah.
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 Well, it's
and-
such a weird situation because like you're not really next in line to the throne. You're next in line to what is effectively kind of a civil war happening in your country. Like it's not exactly like, yeah, this is perfect. You do tax everyone and live an incredibly wealthy life, so that part I think worked out for them.
Yeah. As always in politicians' lives, but um no, yeah, it was just very much like you said, like now saying like it's a very French movie. Yeah, it's a very French movie. It has it's like it's not like complete French. Like I know that complete French just goes out there and just like is just so.
You want to talk
abstract to the
about
point of-
Truffaut? Let's
Oh, like
go.
homeboy
Yeah.
from Irresistibles in this.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 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 There was a lot of like French people in this.
Yeah, I was like,
but
oh,
then
is that
there's also-
Vincent Cassel?
Yeah. there's a
Yeah,
lot of-
dude, he rules in this movie. Best
Right?
character.
Yeah,
Hot
no, for
Vincent
sure.
Cassel is all you need to know about this movie.
I was like, he's young. He's not even the Silver Night Fox yet.
Mhm. There's a lot of there was a lot of French actors, but then there were not enough French actors at the
Yeah,
same
it was like
time.
there's French people, and then there's just John Malkovich and Dustin Hoffman just speaking in like their normal American accents, and I'm just
Yeah,
like, okay.
And then there's
Well,
that
that's
one
how
guy,
we can get
the
a
one guy
He's
from
her
Dexter as
mental
well.
devil.
Yeah.
He
No,
doesn't
and
have
then the
to
guy
speak
who
French.
the guy from Dexter, he was he was like super American. Like they're like, we need to go take down the English, and then he's just like, Jean, I can't do that. And I'm like, wow, that is American, my guy. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, you're talking about Desmond Harrington.
Is that his name? He was in Dexter. He was like one of
He
the.
was in Dexter. He was on
Mhm.
Justified.
Justified. There
He
you go.
was the
Oh, that
villain.
dude. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was the villain in Ghost Ship.
Oh my god.
We talked about that movie on this
Yeah, we
podcast
talked
Dude,
before.
about it.
Desmond
yeah.
Harrington is my boy. I love that guy.
No, while
I've
watching
followed
I'm
him
like,
since this movie.
yeah,
That's
while watching
awesome.
I was like, he's very much like this actor. Like, he's done a lot of good things and a lot of good shows and movies and stuff like that. But he's always like, he's like that. There's another actor that like is very commonly like that. Like, oh, he's always in good things and does good things, very well. But he
Bryan
just
Cranston.
isn't.
Courtney Cox.
Not Brandon Son. No, like I feel
Carrot
like,
Top.
but yeah, very much so. He was really good. I felt very bad for him. I felt very bad for the situations that that he was put in. I'm just like how I think he really cared for Joan and just having to deal with that and stuff like that. Her just like sometimes very like in the clouds and stuff, and
Literally.
literally.
Like having a seizure like in the middle of war, just like let's fucking go. They're just like, whoa, Joe, chill.
Yeah. Yeah, and then also like essentially like I very much feel like well no, he did. His friend or who he thought it was his friend, John Malkovich's character like betraying him,
Yeah.
at the end.
Well, right off the bat, he's like, who's gonna take over for me real fast? Just in case it's an assassin. Not
Oh,
these
yeah.
three, but you, my guy, because you're a nice guy. So fuck you.
I like when he
wow.
tells that one guy, like, you could pass for the king, and then he goes, what is that? Until you talked. The guy with the scar down his face.
Yeah.
That guy was low key kind of the MVP. He just like, it was like
Dude, he has that like Legion of Doom spiked chest
Right?
piece, and he's just
He looks like
bear
he's out of-
hugging.
right?
people's
Looks like he's
skulls
straight out
into
of
it.
like Warhammer 40K or something.
Yeah,
like
yes.
Whoa. If we're gonna be talking about the MVP, we have to talk about my boy and his trebuchet.
Yeah, the
That was
trebuchet.
the shit. I loved
Drop
him
the
so
mic.
much. Be careful with my baby. I was like, hell yeah. Be careful with that trebuchet.
The weaponry in this movie, like the balls that go down
that
that
was, like,
hole in
that's
the
the
wall, and like
Dude, that was
was-
so
that was
sick.
so
I love
visceral.
that.
the
So
the
visceral.
spinning
Oh, when it took that guy's
Oh,
head off?
thing.
When it just,
Yeah,
like,
literally
the guy's
clean
head-
off.
explode. Like I was like, okay, this is a cool. And then just like I was like, oh wow, I was not expecting just a head to explode out of here, like scanners straight up almost.
I always
Less
wondered about
subtle
like
than scanners.
yeah. At least like Scanners had a little bit of a build up, but with Michael Ironside. But yeah, this was just bam. Like I was kind of like when I saw it spinning, I was like, "What's that gonna do? That ain't gonna do shit." Boom, and I was like, "Oh, nope, it does something." Never mind.
So Mikey, of all the underrated movies, because I was like, all right, pick one. You gave me a list, but this was the number one on your list. Oh, like what was it that like we were like zeroed in and like, all right, let's talk about The Messenger.
Well, part of it is like I wanted to watch it with my partner Tara, who had never seen it. So we had a little date night last night watching this. Mostly doing a Project Runway judging on all of the costuming and hairstyles and hat styles of 1400s France. Not all about the fashion of that era. I gotta be honest.
Not a fan of the couture.
Couture is a strong word, sir.
It was accurate. It was accurate.
Yeah, period
Yeah.
accurate for sure. It was
Yeah.
beautiful. It's just like why do you gotta do the weird
Yeah.
double butted like hat piece? I don't know.
Half piece.
I was thinking
And
the same thing. I was thinking about that.
Yeah, and like, was their hair like extended into it? So I don't, or
Yeah,
was it
probably.
just? It was okay. Yeah.
Oh, while we're on the subject of
Mm.
incredible cameos in this movie, freaking Faye Dunaway.
Yeah.
Wow, incredible in this movie. There's
Yeah,
so
she
many
was
good
so
cameos.
good. Like
Oh,
it was
is
all.
she the
I
sister?
wouldn't even call it a bit part. I don't even think it was a camp. She's like
Yeah.
she's like the third or fourth like build I think in the movie, like ahead of Vincent Cassell.
Is she the
Who
sister?
rules?
He's
She was the mom.
yeah, Malkovich's mother-in-law,
Oh yeah.
the one who's like
Mhm.
just like kind of scheming a little bit in the background. She's kind of the Lady Macbeth-esque figure, I guess, almost.
The
Yeah, I
Cersei
don't-
Lannister, if you need a modern ref.
Yeah, there you go.
It's just so like much of like how I felt with like Joan right there, because it's like I felt like they were so sincere, especially her. Like she was like, I truly believe in Joan, and like proving all these things, and then yeah, like they get they get Orleans, and then it's just completely throwing her onto the side, and I'm just like, you guys, like I felt betrayed too, like on that side. I was like, how, like you guys still had more to accomplish. Like I don't even like I'm not that
But-
good with the history, but I don't know if
Oh.
they were able to get the rest through.
She
diplomacy.
marches on to Paris and runs like a week-long campaign to get through, and they lose all their men.
Yeah.
And they basically just kind of dwindle out front.
Mhm.
So worked great the first time,
Yeah.
Leroy. Second time, not so hot.
Yeah, you can only
makes
kind
sense.
of do that once every. You only get one kind of miracle
Yeah,
Yeah.
per war. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure Orleans was like a lot smaller than Paris. You know.
For sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
We.
well, one thing I wanted to ask you guys is, do you guys know anything about like the production history of this movie? Because it's kind of wild.
Mm-mm.
No, not at all.
All I really know is that you can call this movie one of the Frenchiest movies ever made after Luc Besson made The Fifth Element.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that.
I don't know, man. You
I think-
gotta ask Jasper Noé or
Yeah.
Jasper No. That
think-
guy's fucking insane with his French movies.
I think Mila Jovovich can never do a movie that isn't like something about the production. Like,
Well,
I just feel like every movie that she does, it's not on
Yeah.
her. It's more so like it's just every project that I've heard of hers is just like always like it's something's up. But yeah.
well, a quick note on like kind of the way it was shot, which I thought, I don't know, like if you guys have seen the silent film, but I was like, man, there's all these weird like tight shots of people's faces from like low angles that are kind of like, I'm like, why is this here? And I think it's because it kind of mirrors the old the silent film. So that was my take on it. But to kind of get into the production, because I was looking into this, it originally was a film that was developed for like a long time, like years, by Catherine Bigelow, and Bigelow brought on Luc Besson as a producer, because she's like, oh, I should get a French producer. This guy is hot off the heels of The Fifth Element, and he's French, and blah blah. He knows his action movies, so let's get him
That's the
involved.
prerequisite. We got the prerequisite down.
And so then she's like, does all this research for years about Joan of Arc, and she's getting ready to make her movie. And Luc Besson's like, okay, cool, you're gonna cast my then wife Mila Jovovich in this, and she's like, no, I'm gonna cast somebody else. And he's like, oh, well, guess what? We're done. I'm pulling out of this, and I'm gonna make. It was basically the Bender, just like, well, screw you guys, I'll go make my own Joan of Arc movie with flapjacks and hookers, and just like he just like steals all of her research. And is like now, and he's like, "Yep, I'm gonna cast my wife as Joan of Arc." And he got sued by Catherine Bigelow. They settled out of court, and she ended up not making her Joan of Arc movie because he basically just did it instead. And I would have like no offense to this movie, because I think this is a good movie. That I would have think Catherine Bigelow's Joan of Arc movie could have been a great movie, and I would have paid so much money to like see a Zero Dark 30 style meditation from Catherine Bigelow, because I think that maybe
So torture?
I mean,
Yeah,
Well,
Kind of
actually,
like-
there was quite a bit of torture. Never mind.
yeah. Like this tortured psyche of this like really like powerful female figure who like, I'm just gonna put it out there, Luc Besson probably not the greatest person to be like, hey, I'm gonna tell this story of a woman. Like, Luc Besson not the greatest in that regard. I'm not gonna get too much into that because I don't want to bring us down too much. But I really would have liked to see her version of this story. I think it could have been something truly great, and I think there's definitely the DNA of like the research and everything she did in this movie in it, and that's probably what makes the movie, like, elevates this movie, is other than like the action, him just having a really good eye, Luc Besson having a really good eye for making compelling, interesting action set pieces. I do think that all the stuff she did with like, okay, this is who Joan of Arc was, all this, because he just kind of straight up wholesale stole all of that research that she had done.
Well, that is sad. I didn't know that.
It's hard to bum everybody out, but yeah, I was curious about how this movie came to be and why he was chosen as the director, and I was like, man, because she was like really one of our few like female directors from the 90s that was, would have been given a movie like this. And Luc Besson kind of had a blank check, to steal a term from Griffin Newman, just kind of like do whatever you want after The Fifth Element, and same thing with Mila Jovovich, and then it kind of made this, and it bombed, and obviously, I don't think he's had really a hit of that caliber since then.
Yeah, and then she moved on to the Resident Evil director and did all those movies with that director, married to that director.
She has an affinity for directors, apparently.
Yeah.
Are you saying there are people that don't have an affinity for directors?
I mean, you're not wrong.
Like, do we need to bring up Twilight?
Uh-oh.
Damn, low blow.
Oh no! Don't do Case do like that. It's. Oh my god.
She admitted it was a mistake.
Yeah.
So like, would you be interested? Do you think it's kind of like too? It hurts. It would be hurtful too much if she tried to do a Joan of Arc movie now. Like,
Well,
I don't know if she's like not over it or whatever, or she.
Well, I think a lot of the stuff she was going to put in it.
Uh-huh.
I think a lot of the stuff she was going to put in her Joan of Arc movie ended up in this one. So it would probably be well, what's the point of this? This is, we saw this movie in 1999 already. We saw already a different version of it.
To be fair, no one saw that movie in 1999.
That's a good
I
point.
was about to say.
That's a good
That's
point.
what I was about to say.
I was going to say, you know what, though? She probably has a better opportunity now, especially with her, name right now, like big name recognition. So I think she probably has a good opportunity to, retry it. Maybe she can tweak it up a little bit. But, I mean...
Fix the vision scenes.
Yeah, exactly. Take the camera a couple inches away from the face.
Y'all haters. You asked me on the underrated podcast. This is the most beautifully photographed movie of 1999. Sorry, The Matrix.
I said it was a good throwback.
I
silent film.
it.
No,
I'm saying.
To be fair, my response you first said the messenger. I'm like, oh, like the Ben Foster, Woody Harrelson one? No.
Also an incredible movie.
I love that movie.
Wait, and I'm like, oh, well, surely the other, like the haunted house one, right? With Dylan McDermott. And no. I'm like, Joan of Arc one. And he's like, yes. I'm like, dang it. Okay. I've vaguely remember seeing this originally. You
were one of the 3 people who bought tickets to it.
I didn't watch it. I know when it came out on video.
We were all at the Matrix.
My dad had an affinity of renting movies that have to do with religion and spirituality and stuff, which is usually a good choice. But yeah, with this one, I just vaguely it stood in my head of like how over the top the visions were, and so watching this, I'm like, yeah, they're over the top. But truly, like the story itself is really like an interesting one and very much buys for it being told, and that's why it would be awesome if Captain Bigelow, would do her, her spin on it, because like Jonah, it's just very much like it's a grandeur story in itself, just in how like because when you boil it down, it's this girl who like just comes and says, I will lead you to your victory, and and essentially doing it and stuff like that. And so the story is good, but the movies, it's very like once you said it was what Luke based on, I was like, oh, this makes sense. With how the movie is.
But I mean, truthfully, I actually. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, man. My bad.
No. I was just gonna make a dumb quip about. Are you saying the executive producer of the Transporter films didn't take this seriously?
Whoa.
Wait, he did the Transporter? Okay.
Produced the.
Okay. Did he didn't do Taken? Did he? He just that was a Megatron. Right?
Probably he did. If I
know he was involved. I think maybe he did the first one or just produced them. I know it was Olivia Megatron, but yeah.
Megatron. Whoa.
Yeah, I know.
What's that?
What are you gonna say?
Cyberbot produced this? Oh no, I was just gonna say. No,
he wrote it but didn't direct it. Taken.
Okay.
Okay. No, I was just gonna say I really dug the hell out of the movie, man. Like you were saying, we don't get a lot of films like this where we're actually like on location. Like, I mean, the movie. My only real big complaint was it was a little too long. Maybe cut like a couple minutes here and there, but just like one of our previous movies that we did was Count of Monte Cristo. I'm a huge fan of like on location settings, like especially like the practical effects and everything. Like, dude, it was gorgeous. Like, I loved every time like they would just kind of show off the river and like the big gorgeous fields and that magical sword coming out of the sky and all that. But I mean, that's one thing that I really do miss a lot is seeing on location films, because nowadays we're just using CGI for everything, and then now we have these big old like in Mandalorian and Book of Boba where they have like that spherical wall thing that just makes a setting for you.
The space or whatever they call it.
Yeah, something like I just heard that the Batman that there's a shot that like when he's overlooking the city, they just put the screen in front of him and he's like, boom, there he is. And I was like, man, that kind of took away a little bit of the magic. I mean, I still want to go see it, but I don't know. There's something really cool of just knowing that like people are there on location. Just the same thing with practical effects, even if it's just like weapons and a little gore here and there, or like crazy monster effects like the fly or anything. Something about like looking like you can touch it or be there is really magical. And like that's what I really liked about this movie is that set pieces were gorgeous. Like they had to put all this money and effort into it, and it just goes to show. So that was one of my highlights for me, is that I love that that they were in those castles, they were on the battlefield, they were in those towns, and I'm just like, dude, like we don't get that anymore. So I think for me personally, I guess that's why for you picking it, I thank you for picking it, and it does really seem like a great underrated film because it's gorgeous. Like it's a very beautiful film to look at, man. Especially that.
Yeah, definitely production wise, it's a really good film. It is.
I was gonna say, free tip for movies like this: you can throw them on at parties and just mute it, and then throw on soundtracks. It's incredible.
No, yeah. I think
every single M. Night Shyamalan movie is great if you get rid of the Wu-Tang and Last Airbender. I'm not kidding. It's the greatest thing in the whole world.
Oh my god. I was about to say, like,
wait. On that note, what would be your choice for her visions? Like, what's your prime song choice for her?
I feel like I would go like Justice, like old school.
Ooh, I mean it's
Justice.
French, right? So that's
yeah. That gritty dirt, like street.
Yeah. Dude, I remember seeing them at Coachella a couple years back and just like turning to the guy next to me who I didn't even know, and we were like, we're never going to see Daft Punk, obviously. That's never going to be a thing that happens again, because this was in like 2017, so we knew there was never going to be a Daft Punk concert again.
Yeah.
But we were just like, this is the closest we'll ever get to Daft Punk is Justice right now, and it was just so yeah, like I definitely hear you, man, on that one. That would be really rad.
And,
Kid A good on any movie.
Mm-hmm.
Literally any movie works with Kid A.
Yeah. And then Justice has the cross too, so there we go, thematically appropriate.
Yeah, well, no, aren't they like essentially Christian Daft Punk or Catholic Daft Punk? There you go. That's her thing. You got it.
I don't know, but one thing too I was going to say, Alan, kind of hitting on what you were saying about like appreciating that this was real and how that's kind of gone out of vogue. I think that's like why a big part of the reason why the Mission Impossible movies are so popular now, because they're like the only really big budget franchise that's just like, we're just gonna do all this for real. Like the marketing for all of those movies are like, start with like, look, Tom Cruise broke his foot doing this thing, he's not like, it's not like a stunt guy in front of like a green screen. They're actually out there filming real locations and doing like actually having people jump out of planes and doing whatever. And so this hits on that same thing. People really like to go and look at stuff that's real, because even if you like don't necessarily like pick it out, like subconsciously your brain will be like, this looks kind of weird, this looks different, whereas you're watching this movie and it is beautiful.
That's what I really appreciated about Denis Villeneuve's Dune, is that so much of it was like practical, and when they needed like really wild special effects, like for the ornithopters, like I don't know. They did like crazy motion blur stuff. I don't know. That movie excited me. That's my point.
Yeah.
It's a great.
That's a good movie.
Good job, Michael.
Yeah, I think it's very much like it's possible with those kind of movies where it's like kind of a more easily accessible, practical space, like a desert. Is a very, very practical space and easily accessible. But then you have movies where they're in, especially New York, in pretty much impossible to film in New York unless you're like spending like the majority of your budget on that. That's why you have
Well, Sky shut down Times Square for real. If we're talking about practical shots that blow my brain apart,
who
Vanilla Sky.
Vanilla Sky.
Tom Cruise movie.
Yeah,
It's
Tom,
like
Tom,
okay.
we're going back to Tom Cruise can get
He does it.
anything done.
Puts in the work.
He does his Scientology mind tricks on people and stuff. Yeah.
Him breaking his ankle was not CGI.
Yeah,
They didn't CGI that. He actually broke it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like,
Yeah,
I mean,
but
you
like-
could see it in the original footage because his foot goes like the wrong direction, like 400 feet in the air.
Yeah.
And that was literally the first thing that they used to promote that movie. He like came on some talk show and was like, "Hey, look, my foot broke." Before a trailer or anything came out for that, they were like, "Look at this crazy stuff we're doing."
It's still in the movie. There's like 1 or 2 frames where you can see it start to go, and I'm like, you should leave that in the movie. It's not the Starbucks cup on the table on Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
I'm still mad about that.
It's just because
Wait, are you upset that it's in Game of Thrones, or did they take it out like in
No,
Mandalorian?
it's gone.
No,
It is gone
yeah.
from the Blu-rays. It is gone from HBO Max. Like,
are you
they
mad about
erased
not the
it from existence, and I think that's garbage. If you make mistakes in movies, that's just part of the movie. We
Leave
used
him
to
in there.
I know which one you're gonna say,
Absolutely.
Alan.
Jeans guy.
Yep.
Jeans guy was in Mandalorian, and I remember seeing him and going, "Is that a fuck up?" And then they took it out, and I was
course
like,
they did.
"How dare you? How
next
fucking dare you?"
day.
Did they fix?
Yeah.
Did they fix the? I know there was a recent one in the Book of Boba Fett of them like taking a shot that you could see the stage, like you could see the because they're fake buildings. You could see the roof of the fake building and like it being like a corner of a like a facade and stuff like that.
no.
I'm sure they took that one out too. Yeah.
What?
I'm not
I
even
wouldn't-
sure I watched all the episodes of Book of Boba Fett.
You just
Well, it's
gotta
one of
watch
the
the
early
ones with the
ones.
Mandalorian. Don't even worry
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah, pretty much.
But yeah, that mistake was like in like the second episode, I think. But yeah.
But
Can we agree that the PA pushing over the Christmas tree in Gremlins should always be in that movie? He's wearing a bright orange coat for some reason. I don't know why.
Dude, what you gotta do is just do what David Lynch did and just be like, oh, this guy who was like on the crew who accidentally his reflection is in one of my shots. I'm going to make him the overarching big bad and write him into the deep lore of my like wild series. Like that's what you gotta do. Go full Lynch.
Hard. He goes hard. He goes hard. He goes.
There's another Star Wars. I don't know if it was in the prequels, but same thing happened. That's why I'm upset about Jeans Guy, because I can't exactly remember, but somebody was on the set and they're not supposed to be there, and instead George Lucas is like, let's give that person lore, and now they're canonized in Star Wars. I need to look it up, but it's hilarious, and I'm like, yeah, why couldn't the cup in Game of Thrones be like, hey man, that was some weird time travel shit?
Wait, okay. So my brain just broke a little bit. So we are talking about the word canonization and canonized in both the Catholic meaning of the term and the Star Wars meaning of the term. And I think that's beautiful. Thank you for spending this night with me, friends. This is great.
You're very welcome.
We solved it. We solved
We
the
did it.
entertainment.
There's one more too of something that they took out of the movie, and it was only available for a week, and they changed it in theaters. I would have loved to see the original print of Cats that just had like all these weird glitches that made it look like they had buttholes, and you could like see Judi Dench's ring and stuff like that on her finger still, like Judi Dench's wedding ring, because they just like didn't finish it, and then they like, oops, we released it, and now a week later we've fixed all these issues.
It's better to oops, we release it and fix them and just ignore it ever happened than to Sonic the Hedgehog yourself.
Yeah.
And release a trailer that the internet collectively loses their entire minds over so much that you have to screw over hundreds and hundreds of artists. Yes, I'm still mad about that one too.
Yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure they screwed over hundreds of artists for Cats too to get that one week
That-
later.
that's
so.
true. Yeah,
So-
we can't really pick a villain between Cats and Sonic. I'm sure there was no click track. Was the thing about when that guy shot Les Mis, and like they didn't have a click track in their ear or something, and they all just had to like figure out how to line up the music later. I was like,
damn, that sounds like way too much trouble.
Because Tom Hooper
he
was
just like
we'll
starts
do it in
making
post.
movies and doesn't know how.
Well, it's very much like
Have
they
an
did it-
Oscar, dipshit.
Well, he did it fine in Les Mis. I don't understand why he didn't do good in Cats. Yeah.
I mean, it's about
where
Cats.
are you at on Cats though, as it relates to the Messenger?
Well, go.
We
and
did.
you could go.
As an April Fool's Day episode, so there's that.
We did. So we did Cats as an April Fool's Day episode, and then I pulled my own April Fool's prank and did not watch the movie, but spoke about it and fooled them for like 45 minutes, and then revealed at the end. And revealed at the end, I did not watch this movie. Yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
I also haven't seen Cats and have no plans to. So
I've never seen Cats sober.
Yeah, no, you don't have to watch Cats because what I've clearly proven with my experiment is that you could talk about it to the day's end and not watch it. So, yeah.
Well, guys, any final thoughts on The Messenger?
it's an awesome movie, and everyone should watch it.
Seriously, get out there and watch it.
Please do tweet me your thoughts on Dustin Hoffman's luxurious beard.
That's a patchy. When he just pops up, just like hello there, and like it just I was like audibly, I was watching it alone, and I was like, is that Dustin fucking Hoffman? Like it just caught me so off guard because it's just like all the it's like the most French part of the movie too. It's like Joan, we will judge you, and then just like. Oh, did you ever think about what would happen if the sword was here? And it's just
I was saying, a sword in a field. You found a sword in a field. Nobody delivers lines like him. He's so good.
Well, it took me for a second. It took me a second to place. I was like the vague. I know this person, and then it slowly came to me, and I'm like, Dustin Hoffman. Kind of thing, yeah.
Because he's got such the voice, he's like, hello there, it's Hoffman. We've got it. The president is committing crimes, Redford. We got to get to the bottom of this.
The president of God is on the phone in a field.
Oh man, well, this has been super fun.
I'm glad I could ruin all of your nights with my elder millennial takes.
Yeah, I'm just a mid-millennial, so you gotta. I was a wee lad in '99. I was too busy watching my new hero, Anakin Skywalker pod race, to be distracted by any of this nonsense.
Dude, you can throw all the shit you want to at the prequels till the end of time. Nobody can touch the pod race. The pod race rules.
No, it legitimately does.
Absolutely.
The pod race is great, and that movie, what I've always said about that movie, I'm getting off track, but whatever. That movie is it's just a collection of awesome moments. It's just the pod race and the three-way fight with the dual lightsaber with Darth Maul. Those are two of the coolest scenes in any movie. They're so great, and there's a bunch of just other great stuff in it. That's just this as a whole. I don't know if it works, but just watch this scene. This is incredible.
Definitely the third most iconic Star Wars music or song.
Yeah. Williams knocked it out of the park.
Untouchable.
It goes the main Star Wars theme. Darth Vader's march, and then Duel of the Fates. In recognition and knowledge. But yeah, pod racing, the fact of the matter is that it got referenced in. I was about to say the Mandalorian episode, but it was a Book of Boba Fett Mandalorian episode. But yeah, they legit recreated the pod race.
Yeah.
With that, yeah. So.
And they gave him Anakin's Starfighter, not the exact one, but still.
Hey, Mikey, I just want to I want to thank you so much for recommending Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace as your underrated pick. It's easily one of my favorite underrated films I've ever seen.
It's this little movie you guys
I've
might
been
have heard.
talking about Star Wars on the internet for 10 goddamn years. Like, there is nothing that like Star Wars fans have not called me or threatened me with. So yeah, they're all great. All 9 of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love them all. I'm with you on that.
Well, on that note, since you brought up that you've been talking about Star Wars on the internet, Mikey, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you and what kind of stuff you do?
Yeah, you can find me at youtube.com/FilmJoy. We make 2 shows, Deep Dive and Movies of Mikey. Movies of Mikey is my film essay series, where I try to talk about stuff I like and say things about movies that you might not have realized, or look at art on a deeper level and think about why art helps us through situations in life as opposed to tearing us all apart every time there's any movie release at all. Which I don't like, which I am actively combating. Watch my show. It's great. It's fun. Doesn't it sound fun?
It's good.
Sounds great.
I watch it all the time, which is why I was like, I gotta get Mikey on the podcast. In fact, there was a moment earlier when you were talking about, throw on an M. Night Shyamalan movie and just like put music on it. I was like, I was watching a video essay where they said something about The Happening, and then I was like, wait, no, that was you. That's where I got that. But yeah, definitely guys, go ahead and check out Mikey.
There's actually a clip in that episode of... Yeah, actually just start with the Shyamalan episode, which FYI, it's pronounced Shyamalan, not Shyamalan. Everyone has been saying it wrong for 20 years.
Whoa.
Part of the episode.
A twist.
What? That actually, I think that's what I say is what a... Because I had to record the video essay saying it wrong. Because I was hanging out with my friend who's a film critic in both Mumbai and New York, Siddhant Adlaka. He wrote for Village Voice and stuff, but he was like a really good window into like early Indian life, but also like just the weird like sort of film path that M. Night took and like tried to like carve out space for himself in all these interesting, strange ways. I don't know. That guy fascinates me to no end.
Yeah, well, that will be in the episode description. Anybody who is interested, I will put that episode specifically. And
there's Wu-Tang and Last Airbender. You cannot go wrong with that in that episode.
As for the rest of us, if you guys have liked this episode with Mikey, we do other episodes as well. You know, we've had other pretty cool guests on. Sometimes we don't have any cool guests, so just the 3 of us do it. Who knows if those are any good? We've had a lot of fun today, though. But if you guys have liked this, check out the rest of our stuff. As I said, this is underrated. Go ahead and give us a subscription. We're on all the podcast app on YouTube, or check us out on Instagram and all the socials, Undercast Company. We do a couple other shows and stuff, but once again, I've been Derek. Thank you guys so much for lilistening.
I've been Alan, and I hope you guys take it easy. Oh, sorry.
No.
How long have we been doing this?
I know. I've been Ariel. Thanks for being amazing, everybody.
And I'm here too.